The rain fell like bullets against the cracked asphalt, each drop exploding into a tiny burst of water that mixed with the blood dripping from Amara Bennett's trembling hands. Her white shirt, once pristine, now clung to her body in wet, crimson patches. Her 5-year-old daughter Tessa pressed against her side, small fingers clutching the fabric of her mother's jeans with a grip born of pure terror. "Mommy, I'm scared," Tessa whispered, her voice barely audible over the storm. Amara's lungs burned as she ran, her bare feet slapping against the wet pavement. She'd lost her shoes somewhere back at the apartment during the struggle. Her left eye throbbed where Derek's fist had connected, and she could taste copper in her mouth. Behind them, she could hear him shouting, his voice cutting through the rain like a knife. "You can't run from me, Amara. You're mine." Her heart hammered against her ribs. The street was empty, dark, lined with warehouses that had closed hours ago. No help. No witnesses. Just the rain and the darkness and Derek's rage following them like a shadow. Then she saw it. A sleek black car parked under a broken streetlight, windows tinted dark. Someone sat inside. She could see the faint glow of a phone screen illuminating the interior. Without thinking, without planning, driven purely by the instinct to protect her child, Amara ran to the passenger window and knocked. Her bloody hand left a red smear on the pristine glass. The window rolled down slowly, revealing a man's face. Sharp cheekbones, dark eyes that seemed to see everything, a jaw set in stone. He wore an expensive gray suit, the kind that cost more than 3 months of her rent. His black hair was perfectly styled despite the late hour. "Can I hide in your car?" The words tumbled from Amara's mouth in a desperate rush. "Please. He's going to kill me. My daughter." She didn't finish the sentence. Derek's voice rang out again, closer now, and she heard his footsteps splashing through puddles. The man's eyes flickered from Amara's face to Tessa's terrified expression, then to the approaching figure in the distance. His expression didn't change, but something shifted in those dark eyes. Something like recognition of a familiar pain. "Get in. Both of you. Now." He didn't ask questions. Didn't hesitate. Didn't demand explanations. He simply reached across and opened the door from the inside. Amara yanked the door open and practically threw Tessa into the back seat before diving in after her. The moment the door closed, the man pressed the lock button. The sound of all 4 doors locking simultaneously was the most beautiful sound Amara had ever heard. Derek reached the car seconds later, his face appearing at the window like a nightmare made flesh. He pounded on the glass with both fists, his features twisted with rage. "That's my woman. My kid. You have no right." The man in the driver's seat didn't even look at Derek. He simply started the engine, the powerful motor purring to life, and pulled smoothly away from the curb. Derek's shouts faded behind them as they drove into the rainy night. Amara collapsed against the leather seat, pulling Tessa onto her lap. Her daughter buried her face in her mother's neck, small body shaking with sobs. "Thank you," Amara whispered, her voice breaking. "Thank you so much. I didn't know where else to go. I saw your car and... You're bleeding." The man's voice was deep, controlled, the kind of voice used to giving orders and being obeyed. But there was something else underneath. Something almost gentle. Amara looked down at herself. Blood soaked her shirt from the cut on her arm where Derek had slashed her with a broken plate. Her lip was split and she could feel her eye swelling shut. "It's not as bad as it looks," she lied. "Yes, it is." He glanced at her in the rearview mirror, his dark eyes meeting hers for just a moment. "I'm taking you to a medical facility. Private. No questions asked. They'll treat both of you. I can't afford." Amara started, but he cut her off. "I didn't ask if you could afford it. I said I'm taking you there." Something in his tone told her arguing would be pointless. Besides, she could feel warm blood still seeping from the cut on her arm. Tessa needed to be checked for injuries too. "What's your name?" Amara asked quietly. There was a pause. The man's hands gripped the steering wheel, strong and steady. He wore an expensive watch on his left wrist, and his suit jacket hung perfectly on broad shoulders. Dominic Kane. The name hit Amara like a physical blow. Even in her fear and pain, she recognized it. Everyone in the city knew that name. Dominic Kane, the billionaire CEO who'd built his empire from nothing. The man newspapers called ruthless. The man business rivals feared. The man whose cold reputation preceded him everywhere. And she'd just thrown herself and her daughter into his car, covered in blood, begging for help. "I'm Amara," she said softly. "This is Tessa." Dominic nodded once, his eyes back on the road. Rain drummed against the roof of the car, but inside it was warm and quiet and safe. For the first time in hours, Amara felt like she could breathe. "Mommy, is the bad man gone?" Tessa's small voice was muffled against Amara's neck. "Yes, baby. He's gone. We're safe now." "The man who's driving," Tessa whispered, peeking out from her hiding place. "Is he a good man?" Amara looked at the back of Dominic's head, at the rigid set of his shoulders, at the way his jaw clenched slightly when Tessa asked her innocent question. "Yes," Amara said, surprising herself with how much she meant it. "He's a good man." They drove through the city streets, leaving the warehouse district behind. The buildings grew taller, more modern. The rain continued to fall, washing the blood from the car window where Amara's hand had left its mark. Dominic pulled into an underground parking garage beneath a glass and steel building. He parked in a spot marked reserved, decane, and turned off the engine. When he finally turned to look at them directly, Amara saw something in his expression that she hadn't expected. Understanding. Real, deep understanding of what she'd just been through. "Listen to me carefully," he said, his voice still that same controlled tone. "You're safe now. I'm going to help you, and I'm not going to ask you to explain anything until you're ready. But I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" Amara had spent the last 3 years learning not to trust anyone, especially not men. Derek had taught her that lesson well. But something about Dominic's steady gaze, about the way he'd opened his door without hesitation, about the fact that he could have driven away but didn't, made her nod. "Yes," she said. "I can trust you." "Good." Dominic opened his door and came around to open hers. He didn't try to touch her, didn't crowd her space. He simply stood back and waited for her to exit with Tessa in her arms. They took a private elevator to the 10th floor. The medical facility was nothing like Amara had ever seen. Clean, modern, with soft lighting and comfortable chairs. A doctor and nurse appeared immediately, both professional and kind. "Dr. Stevens, this is Amara and her daughter Tessa. They need immediate treatment. Put everything on my account." Dominic's tone left no room for discussion. Dr. Stevens, a woman in her 50s with gentle eyes, nodded and gestured for Amara to follow her. "Come with me, dear. Let's get you both taken care of." Amara hesitated, looking back at Dominic. Part of her feared he would leave, that this moment of safety would evaporate like a dream. "I'll be right here," he said as if reading her thoughts. "I'm not going anywhere." The examination room was warm and clean. Dr. Stevens worked efficiently but gently, cleaning the cut on Amara's arm. It needed 8 stitches. Her eye would heal on its own, though she'd have a spectacular bruise. Her split lip required only careful cleaning. Tessa, thankfully, had no physical injuries. But the nurse who examined her noted signs of severe stress and anxiety. "She'll need counseling," Dr. Stevens said quietly to Amara. "What you both went through tonight, what you've likely been going through, it leaves marks that we can't see. But they're just as real." Amara nodded, tears finally spilling down her cheeks now that the immediate danger had passed. "I know. I didn't know how to leave. Every time I tried, he found me. He said he'd take Tessa away if I left. He said he'd hurt her." Dr. Stevens squeezed her hand. "You're out now. And Mr. Kane, he's not the kind of man who does things halfway. If he's decided to help you, he'll make sure you stay safe." 2 hours later, cleaned up and bandaged, wearing borrowed scrubs because her bloody clothes had been discarded, Amara walked back into the waiting area. Dominic sat exactly where he'd been when she left, his phone in his hand but his attention clearly on the door she emerged from. He stood immediately. "How are you both?" "Better. Thank you." "Really, I don't know how to." "You don't need to thank me." Dominic's expression was unreadable. "It's 3 in the morning. You both need rest. I've arranged a hotel suite. Secure. Private. Tomorrow we'll figure out the next steps." "A hotel? I can't. I don't have money for." Dominic held up one hand, cutting her off gently. "Amara, I'm going to say this once. When I offer help, I mean it. I don't expect payment. I don't expect anything in return. You needed help. I'm giving it. That's the end of the discussion." His tone was firm but not unkind. It was the voice of a man used to making decisions and having them followed. But underneath it, Amara sensed that same gentleness she'd noticed earlier. Tessa had fallen asleep in Amara's arms during the examination. She stirred now, looking up at Dominic with wide, curious eyes. "Are you really helping us?" she asked in that direct way only children can manage. Dominic's expression softened almost imperceptibly. He crouched down to be at eye level with the little girl. "Yes, I am. You and your mother are going to be safe now. I promise." "Promises are important," Tessa said seriously. "You can't break them." I never do, Dominic replied, and Amara believed him. They took Dominic's car to a luxury hotel in the heart of the city. The suite he'd reserved was bigger than the entire apartment Amara had shared with Derek. 2 bedrooms, a living area, a kitchen, floor-to-ceiling windows showing the city lights. The suite is paid for as long as you need it, Dominic said, setting down bags of clothes and supplies his assistant had apparently delivered while they were at the medical facility. Everything you might need is in these bags. Clothes, toiletries, things for Tessa. Tomorrow we'll talk about more permanent arrangements. Amara looked around the beautiful room, at the comfortable furniture, at the door with its secure locks, at the windows high above the dangerous streets. She looked at her daughter, already half asleep again, safe and clean and warm. Then she looked at Dominic Kane, this stranger who'd become their salvation. Why? She asked simply. Why are you doing this? Dominic was quiet for a long moment. His dark eyes held shadows of his own, stories Amara suspected he rarely told. Because someone should have done it for my mother, he said finally. And no one did. The words hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning. Before Amara could respond, Dominic headed for the door. Lock this behind me. Don't open it for anyone but me. I'll call before I come tomorrow. My number is programmed into the phone on the table. Dominic, Amara called as he reached the door. He turned back, one hand on the handle. Thank you. For opening your door. For not driving away. For everything. He nodded once, something that might have been a smile flickering across his stern features. Get some rest, Amara. You're safe now. Both of you. And then he was gone. Amara locked the door, tested it twice, then carried Tessa to one of the bedrooms. She tucked her daughter into the soft bed, kissed her forehead, and watched her sleep for a long moment. Then she walked to the window and looked out at the city. The rain had stopped. Dawn was still hours away. Somewhere out there, Derek was probably still searching, still angry, still dangerous. But in this moment, in this room, they were safe. Amara touched the bandage on her arm, remembering the feeling of Dominic's car door locking, the sound of the engine starting, the way he'd driven them away from danger without hesitation. She'd run into the night covered in blood, desperate and terrified. And she'd found a man who'd opened his door without asking why. As she finally lay down in her own bed, exhaustion pulling her towards sleep, one thought circled through Amara's mind. Her life had just changed in ways she couldn't yet imagine. And it had all started with 5 desperate words. Can I hide in your car? If you were running through the rain, bleeding and terrified with your child depending on you, wouldn't you want someone to open their door without question? This story shows that sometimes strangers become family when we need them most. If you believe in second chances and the power of kindness, please subscribe and comment below. What would you do if someone knocked on your car window asking for help? Morning light filtered through the hotel suite windows, gentle and warm. Amara woke slowly, confused for a moment about where she was. Then memory crashed back. Derek's fists, the rain, the blood, the knock on a stranger's window. Dominic Kane. She sat up carefully, her body aching from yesterday's struggle. The cut on her arm throbbed beneath its bandage. But she was alive. Tessa was alive. They were safe. Tessa was still asleep in the other bedroom, curled up like a small animal in its den. Amara checked on her, then retreated to let her daughter rest. Sleep was the best medicine for trauma, Dr. Stevens had said. A phone on the living room table buzzed with a message. Amara picked it up, seeing Dominic's name on the screen. Good morning. I hope you both rested. I'll arrive at 10 a.m. There's food in the refrigerator, courtesy of hotel room service. Take your time. Amara glanced at the clock. 9:15. She had 45 minutes. She found the kitchen fully stocked, just as Dominic had promised. Fresh fruit, eggs, bread, milk, juice. She made breakfast mechanically, her mind spinning with questions. Why had Dominic really helped them? What did he want in return? Men like him didn't do things without expecting something back. Derek had taught her that. But Derek's voice in her head was poison, and she pushed it away. At exactly 10 o'clock, a knock sounded at the door. Amara checked the peephole and saw Dominic standing in the hallway, dressed in another impeccable suit, this one navy blue. He looked like he'd stepped out of a business magazine. She opened the door. Good morning, he said. His eyes immediately went to her face, assessing her injuries with a clinical but concerned gaze. How do you feel? Sore. But alive. Amara stepped back to let him enter. Tessa's still sleeping. I didn't want to wake her. Let her sleep as long as she needs. Dominic carried a leather briefcase which he set on the coffee table. We have a lot to discuss, but none of it is urgent enough to interrupt a child's rest. They sat in the living area, Amara on the sofa, Dominic in a chair across from her. He maintained a respectful distance, never crowding her space. I need to know some things, he began. Not because I doubt you, but because I need to understand the situation to help effectively. The man from last night. Derek. Tell me about him. Amara's hands clenched in her lap. Talking about Derek felt like inviting him into this safe space. But Dominic deserved answers. His name is Derek Walsh. We were together for 3 years. He wasn't always violent. At first he was charming. Attentive. Then Tessa was born and things changed. He started drinking more. Getting angry over small things. The first time he hit me, he cried afterward. Promised it would never happen again. But it did, Dominic said quietly. It did. And it got worse. I tried to leave twice. Both times he found me. The second time he threatened to take Tessa away. Said he had connections in family court. Said no one would believe me because I had no proof, no witnesses. I worked as a waitress at night and he'd show up at my job making scenes, getting me fired. Eventually I stopped trying to leave. I just tried to keep Tessa safe. What changed last night? Amara's voice dropped to barely a whisper. He came home drunk. Angrier than I'd ever seen him. He grabbed Tessa. He'd never done that before, never touched her. Always just me. But last night he grabbed her arm and squeezed hard enough to make her cry. Something in me just snapped. I pushed him away from her. He dropped a plate and it shattered. I picked up a piece to defend us. That's when I cut him. Not deep, just enough to make him let go. Then I grabbed Tessa and ran. Dominic listened without interrupting, his expression unreadable but his attention complete. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment. You did the right thing, he said finally. Protecting your daughter. Running. All of it. You survived, and that takes incredible strength. Tears pricked Amara's eyes. No one had ever said that before. Derek had always made her feel weak, stupid, worthless. What happens now? She asked. I can't go back to that apartment. I have no money, no job. Derek took everything. My phone, my documents, my bank card. Everything. Dominic leaned forward slightly. Here's what's going to happen. First, I've already had my legal team begin the process of obtaining a restraining order against Derek Walsh. They'll need your statement, but they can come here to take it. You don't need to go anywhere you don't feel safe. A restraining order won't stop him, Amara said bitterly. He doesn't care about rules. You're right. A piece of paper won't stop him. But it's the legal foundation we need. Second, I'm assigning private security to you and Tessa. Professionals. They'll keep you safe while we deal with the legal matters. I can't afford. Amara. Dominic's voice was firm. I'm going to keep saying this until you believe it. I'm not asking you to pay for anything. I'm offering help. Real help. And I need you to accept it. She wanted to argue. Pride demanded she refuse. But when she thought about Tessa, about keeping her daughter safe, pride seemed foolish. Okay, she said quietly. Thank you. Third, Dominic continued, you need a job. I own several companies. One of them runs community outreach programs, helping people in difficult situations. Given your experience, I think you'd be valuable there. The position comes with a good salary, benefits, and flexible hours so you can care for Tessa. Amara stared at him. You're offering me a job? Just like that. I've learned to recognize strength when I see it. You have it. You survived 3 years of abuse and still managed to protect your daughter. That's the kind of person I want working for my company. What if I'm terrible at it? Amara asked, trying to process everything. For the first time, something that might actually be a smile crossed Dominic's face. Then we'll find you a different position. But I don't think you will be. Why are you doing all this? Amara asked again. Last night you mentioned your mother? Dominic's expression went still. My father was a violent man. He beat my mother regularly. I was too young to stop him. She died when I was 12 and everyone said it was a car accident. But I knew the truth. He'd beaten her so badly the night before that she could barely see straight. The crash was his fault, even if his hands weren't on the wheel. The pain in his voice was old but deep. Amara understood that kind of pain, the kind that never really healed. I'm sorry, she said softly. I built my company, made my fortune, became the man I am today so that I'd never be powerless again. So that when I saw someone who needed help, I'd have the resources to give it. Last night, when you knocked on my window, I saw my mother's face. I saw the chance to do what no one did for her. They sat in silence for a moment, connected by shared understanding of violence's aftermath. I'll take the job, Amara said. And the security. And the restraining order. And I'll work hard to build a life where Tessa and I don't need your help anymore. But right now I do need it. So thank you for giving it. Dominic nodded, respect clear in his expression. That's exactly the attitude that tells me you'll succeed. A small voice came from the bedroom doorway. Mommy? Tessa stood there in her borrowed pajamas, her hair a mess, her eyes still heavy with sleep. She saw Dominic and immediately tensed. Amara held out her arms. Come here, baby. Tessa ran to her mother but kept her eyes on Dominic. Is he taking us away? No, Amara said gently, stroking her daughter's hair. Dominic is helping us. Remember last night? He's the good man who helped us get away from Derek. Tessa studied Dominic with a child's directness. You promised we'd be safe. I did, Dominic said seriously. And I keep my promises. You and your mother are going to stay safe. I'm making sure of it. Do you have a little girl? Tessa asked. No, I don't have any children. Do you want one? Dominic looked surprised by the question, and Amara felt her cheeks heat with embarrassment. Tessa, that's not a polite question. It's fine, Dominic said. His expression had softened again, that same gentleness Amara had glimpsed last night. I never really thought about it before. My work keeps me very busy. But maybe someday. My daddy was mean, Tessa said matter-of-factly. If you were somebody's daddy, would you be mean? The question hung in the air. Amara watched Dominic's face, saw something like pain cross it. No, he said quietly. I would never be mean. I would protect them and keep them safe and make sure they were happy. That's what parents are supposed to do. Tessa seemed satisfied with this answer. Okay. Can I have breakfast? The tension broke. Amara laughed, the sound strange after so much fear. Yes, baby. Let's get you breakfast. Over the next hour, while Tessa ate pancakes and watched cartoons, Dominic laid out the plan. His legal team would arrive that afternoon to take Amara's statement. The restraining order would be filed by end of business. 2 security professionals would be assigned to them starting tomorrow. What about Tessa's school? Amara asked. She was enrolled in kindergarten near our old apartment. We'll transfer her to a better school, Dominic said. There's an excellent one near the neighborhood where I'm arranging permanent housing for you. Permanent housing? Amara's head was spinning. You can't live in a hotel forever. I own a residential building in a safe area. Good schools, parks, family-friendly. There's a vacant apartment. 2 bedrooms, recently renovated. It's yours for as long as you need it. At what rent? Amara asked carefully. Dominic named a figure that was incredibly reasonable, far below market rate. And that's only when you're ready. The first 3 months are free while you get established. Amara opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. This was help. Real help. And she needed to accept it with gratitude, not let pride destroy the chance Tessa had for a better life. Thank you, she said simply. For everything. Dominic stood, gathering his briefcase. I need to go to the office, but I'll check in this evening. The lawyers will be here at 2. Just tell them everything you told me. They're good people. They'll help. He moved toward the door, then paused. Amara, I want you to understand something. What Derek did to you, that's not your fault. None of it. You didn't deserve it. Tessa didn't deserve it. You deserve safety and peace and the chance to build the life you want. The words hit Amara harder than she expected. She'd spent so long believing Derek's voice telling her she was worthless, that she deserved the pain, that no one else would ever want her. I'm starting to believe that, she whispered. Good. Keep believing it. Because it's true. After Dominic left, Amara sat on the sofa and cried. Not tears of fear this time, but tears of relief. Hope. The possibility of a future that didn't include flinching at every sound, didn't include pain and terror and wondering if today would be the day Derek finally killed her. Tessa climbed onto her lap. Why are you sad, Mommy? I'm not sad, baby. I'm happy. We're going to be okay. We're really going to be okay. And for the first time in 3 years, Amara believed it. The lawyers came at 2, just as Dominic had promised. They were professional but kind, taking Amara's statement with care, never making her feel judged or doubted. By evening, the restraining order was filed. Dominic called at 7 to check in. How did it go with the legal team? Good. They were very kind. The restraining order is filed. Excellent. How's Tessa? Amara glanced at her daughter, who was coloring at the table. She's doing okay. Better than I expected. She asked if we could get a cat in the new apartment. I don't see why not. The building allows pets. Dominic, can I ask you something? Of course. Why were you parked in that area last night? It's not exactly where someone like you would usually be. There was a pause. I was coming from a late meeting at one of my factories in that district. I'd stayed later than planned going over production reports. I was about to drive home when you knocked on the window. So it was just chance. Luck. Maybe. Or maybe some things happen for a reason. That night, as Amara lay in bed listening to Tessa breathe softly in the next room, she thought about chance and fate and the strange way life could change in a single moment. 24 hours ago she'd been trapped, terrified, convinced there was no escape. Now she had hope. Safety. A future. All because a stranger had opened his door. 3 days later, Amara stood in the doorway of her new apartment, barely able to process that this was real. The space was beautiful. Hardwood floors gleamed in the afternoon sunlight. The walls were painted a soft cream color. The kitchen had modern appliances and plenty of counter space. 2 bedrooms, both large enough for real furniture, not the cramped spaces she'd lived in before. What do you think? Dominic stood behind her, carrying boxes that his moving company had packed from storage. Things Amara had kept in a friend's garage, the few possessions she'd managed to hide from Derek. It's perfect, Amara breathed. It's more than perfect. I can't believe this is ours. Tessa darted past them both, running from room to room with the pure joy only children can express. Mommy, come see my room. It's huge. Can I really get a cat? We'll see, baby. But Amara was smiling. A real smile that felt strange on her face after so long. The security team Dominic had hired, 2 professionals named Garrett Lopez and Nicole Chin, swept through the apartment checking windows and locks. They'd been with Amara and Tessa constantly since being assigned, always present but never intrusive. Everything looks good, Garrett reported. He was a former police officer, solid and calm. All locks are secure. Windows are good quality. No easy access points. There's a camera system in the building lobby, Nicole added. She was former military, sharp-eyed and efficient. And will maintain regular patrols of the floor. You're safe here. Safe. That word kept appearing in Amara's new life. She was learning to trust it. Over the next few hours they unpacked boxes. Dominic stayed to help, rolling up his sleeves and working alongside them. Amara kept expecting him to leave to have more important things to do, but he remained. Don't you have a company to run? She asked as they assembled Tessa's bed. I have excellent people running things while I'm here. Besides, this is important. Why? Amara asked, genuinely curious. Why are you still here, still helping? The restraining order is filed. We have security. We have a place to live. You've done more than anyone could expect. Dominic was quiet for a moment, tightening a bolt on the bed frame. Because helping you once and then walking away would be meaningless. Real help isn't a single gesture. It's seeing things through. Is that what happened with your mother? People made single gestures but didn't follow through? His hand stilled on the wrench. My mother's friends knew what my father was doing. Neighbors heard the fights. But no one wanted to get involved. They'd offer sympathy, maybe suggest she leave, but no one offered real help. No one gave her a place to stay. No one helped her get away. They made gestures and felt good about themselves, but those gestures meant nothing when she needed them to mean something. Amara set down the piece she was holding. So you're making sure that doesn't happen with us. You're following through. Yes. Thank you. For seeing us as worth the effort. Dominic looked at her directly, his dark eyes intense. Amara, you are worth every bit of effort and more. Don't ever doubt that. The moment stretched between them, charged with something Amara couldn't quite name. Then Tessa burst into the room with a stuffed rabbit, breaking the tension. Look. I found Mr. Hops. I thought Derek threw him away but he was in the box. Amara pulled her daughter into a hug. I hid him, remember? In Aunt Rachel's garage with our other important things. Can Mr. Hops sleep in my new bed tonight? Of course he can. By evening the apartment was taking shape. Furniture assembled, boxes unpacked, pictures hung on walls. Dominic ordered dinner from a good restaurant, refusing Amara's attempts to pay. They ate together at the small dining table, the 3 of them, and it felt strangely natural. Tessa chattered about her new room, about the park she could see from her window, about the cat she wanted to name Princess Sparkle. That's quite a name, Dominic said seriously. She'll be beautiful, Tessa assured him. All white with blue eyes. Then Princess Sparkle is a fitting name for a beautiful cat. Amara watched them interact, watched Dominic's patience with her daughter, the way he spoke to Tessa like she was a person worth listening to. Derek had always ignored Tessa unless he was angry. This was different. This was what kindness looked like. After dinner, while Tessa got ready for bed, Dominic and Amara stood on the small balcony. The city stretched out before them, lights twinkling in the gathering darkness. "I start the job tomorrow," Amara said. "I'm nervous." "That's normal. But you'll do well. The team you're joining is good people. They're excited to have someone with your perspective." "My perspective as a former victim, you mean?" "Your perspective as a survivor. There's a difference." Amara leaned against the railing. "In 3 days my entire life has changed. Sometimes I wake up and think it's a dream. That I'll open my eyes and still be in that awful apartment with Derek passed out drunk on the sofa. It's not a dream. This is real. Your new life is real. What if Derek finds me? The restraining order is just paper. He won't get near you. The security team is the best. And I've had my legal team file additional motions. Derek is being watched. If he violates the restraining order, he goes to jail immediately. No warnings. You've thought of everything." "I try to." Dominic glanced at his watch. "I should go. You need rest before your first day tomorrow." But he didn't move immediately. They stood together in the comfortable silence that had developed between them over the past few days. "Dominic," Amara said softly, "I know I keep thanking you, but I don't know if you really understand what you've given us. You gave us our lives back. Our future. I'll spend the rest of my life being grateful for that rainy night when you opened your car door." "I'm grateful too," he said quietly. "You reminded me why I worked so hard to have the resources to help. Sometimes, in business, you forget the point of it all. You reminded me." He left a few minutes later, and Amara tucked Tessa into her new bed in her new room in their new life. "Mommy, I like Dominic," Tessa said sleepily. "He's nice. And he listens when I talk. He is nice. We're very lucky he helped us. Do you think he'll come back? Or was he just helping us move in?" Amara thought about that. She'd been wondering the same thing. Now that they were settled, would Dominic fade back into his own life? Would this be where the help ended? "I don't know, baby. But even if we don't see him as much, we'll always remember how kind he was to us." "I hope he comes back," Tessa mumbled, already half asleep. "I want to show him Princess Sparkle when we get her." Amara kissed her daughter's forehead and turned off the light. In her own room she stood at the window looking out at the city. Somewhere out there, Derek was probably furious, probably plotting, probably refusing to accept that she'd escaped. But for the first time Amara wasn't afraid. She was protected. She was safe. She had a chance to build something new. And it had all started because one man had decided that helping meant more than a single gesture. The next morning Amara woke early, nerves dancing in her stomach. Her first day at Kane Industries' Community Outreach Division. She dressed carefully in clothes from the wardrobe Dominic had provided, professional but comfortable. Navy blue pants and a soft green blouse. Nicole drove her to the office building while Garrett stayed with Tessa, who would start at her new school next week. The building was modern glass and steel, impressive without being intimidating. "You'll do great," Nicole said as they pulled up to the entrance. "And I'll be right here when you're done." Inside, Amara was met by a woman named Sophia Reynolds, the director of the Community Outreach Division. She was in her 40s, warm and welcoming, with kind eyes and an easy smile. "Amara, we're so glad you're joining us. Dominic spoke very highly of you." "He did." Amara was surprised. "He said you have exactly the perspective we need to improve our programs for domestic violence survivors. Come on, let me show you around." The office was bright and welcoming. The team of 6 people who worked there greeted Amara warmly. They ran programs that help people in crisis. Food banks, housing assistance, job training, counseling services. "Your role will be to help us understand what survivors actually need," Sophia explained. "Too often programs are designed by people who mean well but don't really understand. You understand." Amara was given a desk, a computer, and a stack of program proposals to review. "Just read through these and make notes on what you think. What's missing? What wouldn't actually help? What would?" As she worked through the proposals, Amara found herself getting engaged. This program needed more flexibility. That one assumed survivors had resources they often didn't have. This other one was excellent but needed better marketing so people knew it existed. At lunch, the team ate together in the break room. They asked about her background, and Amara found herself sharing more than she'd expected. Not the details of the violence but the aftermath. The difficulty of leaving with no resources. The fear of starting over. The challenge of helping Tessa process trauma. "This is exactly what we need," said James Park, who managed the housing assistance program. "Real insight. Thank you for sharing." "Thank you for listening," Amara replied. Her phone buzzed with a text from Dominic. "How's the first day going?" Really well. Everyone is so kind. I think I'm actually going to be good at this. I knew you would be. That simple confidence in her abilities made Amara smile. Derek had spent years telling her she was stupid, useless, incapable of anything. Dominic's quiet belief in her was like medicine for wounds she'd carried for too long. When Nicole picked her up at 5, Amara was tired but genuinely happy. She'd worked. She'd contributed. She'd felt valued. At home, Tessa had spent the day with Garrett, who turned out to be excellent with children. They'd made cookies and worked on a puzzle. "Mommy? Look what we made." Tessa held up a lumpy but enthusiastic cookie in the shape of what might have been a star. "It's beautiful, baby." That evening, after Tessa was asleep, Amara's phone rang. "Dominic, I wanted to check in. How was your first day really?" "Really good. The work is interesting. The people are kind. I felt useful." "You're useful. How's Tessa adjusting?" "She's doing well. Garrett was great with her today. She made cookies and didn't have any nightmares last night." "That's good. That's real progress." There was a pause. Amara found herself not wanting the conversation to end. "Dominic, can I ask you something?" "Always." "How long are you planning to stay involved in our lives?" "Not that I want you to leave," she added quickly. "I'm just trying to understand. To not expect things that might not happen." He was quiet for a moment. "Amara, I'm not going anywhere. Not until you're completely stable and safe. And even then, I hope we'll remain friends. You and Tessa, you're not just charity cases I helped once. You're people I care about." The warmth in his voice made something flutter in Amara's chest. A feeling she'd thought Derek had killed. "We care about you too," she said softly. "Tessa asks about you every day. When you're coming back. What you're doing. Tell her I'm coming by tomorrow evening. I have something to show her." "What?" "It's a surprise." The next evening, Dominic arrived carrying a small pet carrier. Tessa's eyes went wide. "Is that what I think it is?" Dominic set down the carrier and opened the door. A small white kitten with blue eyes stepped out cautiously, mewing softly. "Oh." Tessa dropped to her knees. "Princess Sparkle." "I figured if you're going to have a cat, you might as well have her now," Dominic said. "She's 8 weeks old, fully checked by a vet, and very sweet." Tessa gently picked up the kitten, cradling it like precious treasure. "She's perfect. She's exactly what I imagined." Amara looked at Dominic, emotion thick in her throat. "You didn't have to do this. I wanted to. Every little girl should have a cat named Princess Sparkle." They spent the evening helping Tessa set up the kitten's things, showing her how to handle the tiny animal gently, laughing as Princess Sparkle explored her new home with fearless kitten curiosity. Later, after Tessa had reluctantly gone to bed with Princess Sparkle curled up beside her, Amara and Dominic sat in the living room. "You're good with her," Amara said. "With Tessa. You're patient and kind and you actually listen to her. She's a good kid. Smart. Resilient. You've done an amazing job raising her, especially under such difficult circumstances. I tried to shield her from the worst of it. I don't know if I succeeded." "You did. She's happy, curious, trusting. That's because of you." They talked for another hour, sharing stories. Dominic told her about building his company from nothing, about the struggles and victories. Amara told him about her dreams before Derek, about wanting to be a social worker, about plans she'd put aside. "You could still do that," Dominic said. "Go back to school. Finish your degree. Maybe. Someday. Why not sooner? The company has education benefits. We could make it work around your schedule and Tessa's needs." Amara stared at him. "You're serious?" "I don't joke about education. If you want to finish your degree, I'll help make it happen. I need to think about it. Process everything that's already changed." "Of course. The offer stands whenever you're ready." When Dominic finally left that night, Amara stood at her door and watched him walk to the elevator. He turned back before stepping inside, gave her a small smile and a nod. And Amara realized something that both thrilled and terrified her. She was starting to develop feelings for Dominic Kane. Real feelings. Not gratitude. Not dependence. Actual genuine feelings. And she had no idea what to do about that. Weeks slipped by in a rhythm that felt almost normal. Amara went to work each day, finding satisfaction in improving outreach programs. Tessa started kindergarten at her new school and made friends quickly. Princess Sparkle grew from a tiny kitten into a slightly less tiny kitten who ruled the apartment with an iron paw. And Dominic remained a constant presence in their lives. He came by twice a week, ostensibly to check on how they were settling in, but he always stayed for dinner. He attended Tessa's first school play, where she was a flower in the class garden production. He fixed a leaky faucet in the bathroom when the building's maintenance crew was backed up with requests. "You don't need to do that," Amara protested, watching him work under the sink. "That's what maintenance is for. Maintenance won't get here until next Tuesday. This needs to be fixed now." His voice was slightly muffled, his expensive shirt getting wet despite the towels he'd laid down. "Besides, I know how to fix a sink. My mother couldn't afford plumbers. I learned young." These glimpses into his past made him more real to Amara. Not just the billionaire CEO, but the boy who'd grown up poor and scared, who'd learned to fix things because there was no money to pay someone else to do it. She found herself looking forward to his visits with an anticipation that had nothing to do with gratitude. At work, Sophia noticed the change in her. "You're glowing lately. Is there someone special?" Amara felt heat rise in her cheeks. "No. I mean, there's someone who's been very kind to me and my daughter. But it's not like that." "What's not like that?" Sophia smiled knowingly. "He's just being helpful. He feels responsible for us." "Honey, men who feel responsible don't show up to kindergarten plays. Men who are interested do that." "He's Dominic Kane," Amara said, as if that explained everything. "And I'm me. A single mother. A survivor of domestic violence. Someone he helped out of pity." "Is that really what you think? That he pities you?" Amara didn't know how to answer that. She wanted to believe Dominic saw her as more than a charity project. But Derek's voice still echoed in her head sometimes, telling her she was worthless, that no good man would ever want her. That weekend, Dominic invited them to a park across the city. Not the small playground near their apartment, but a huge park with gardens and a lake and walking trails. "I thought Tessa might enjoy feeding the ducks," he explained. "And you could use some fresh air. You've been working hard." They spent the afternoon in the autumn sunshine. Tessa ran ahead on the trails, always within sight but far enough to give the adults space to talk. Princess Sparkle had stayed home, much to Tessa's disappointment. "She's doing so well," Dominic observed, watching Tessa climb on a fallen log. "No signs of the trauma anymore. The school counselor says she's processing everything in a healthy way. Having stability helps. Having safety helps. Having you around helps." "Me?" "She sees you as proof that men can be kind. That not all men are like Derek. That's important for her development." They walked in comfortable silence for a while, leaves crunching under their feet. The air smelled like autumn, crisp and clean. "How are you doing?" Dominic asked. "Really doing?" Not the surface answer. Amara considered the question. "Better than I thought I'd be. Some days are hard. I still jump at loud noises. I still check locks multiple times. But I'm sleeping through the night now. I laugh more. I feel like myself again, or maybe like a new version of myself." "That's good. Healing isn't linear. You sound like my therapist. I had a good therapist once. After my mother died. He taught me a lot about trauma and recovery." Amara glanced at him. He wore jeans and a blue sweater today, looking more relaxed than his usual business suits. Human. Approachable. "Can I ask you something personal?" she ventured. "You can ask me anything. Why aren't you married? Someone like you, successful and kind and good-looking. Surely women are interested." A slight smile crossed his face. "Women are interested in Dominic Kane the billionaire. Not many are interested in Dominic Kane the person. There's a difference. You think people only care about your money? I know they do. I've dated women who saw only the bank account. Who wanted the lifestyle, the status, the power that comes with my name. But they didn't actually see me. That must be lonely." It was. Past tense. "Lately I've been less lonely." The way he looked at her when he said it made Amara's heart skip. She looked away, nervous. "Tessa talks about you constantly," she said, changing the subject slightly. "She asked if you could come to career day at her school next month. Talk about being a CEO. I'd be happy to. Though I should warn you, most 5-year-olds find business strategy boring. She doesn't want you to talk about business strategy. She wants to show you off. She tells everyone you're her friend. I am her friend. I'm both of your friends." Friends? The word felt inadequate for what Dominic had become to them. But Amara didn't know what other word to use. They stopped at the lake to feed the ducks. Tessa threw breadcrumbs with wild enthusiasm while Dominic and Amara sat on a bench watching. "I got my first paycheck this week," Amara said. "It felt amazing. I haven't earned my own money in so long. Derek controlled everything." "What did you do with it?" "Opened my own bank account. Bought Tessa new shoes that she picked out herself. Put the rest in savings. It's not much, but it's mine. That's huge progress." Dominic's voice was warm with approval. Financial independence is crucial. I'm going to start paying rent next month. Real rent, not the reduced amount you insisted on. Amara? Please. I need to do this. I need to prove to myself that I can support us. That I'm not dependent on anyone. He studied her face, then nodded slowly. Okay. If it's important to you, I understand. Thank you. And thank you for not fighting me on it. You're rebuilding your sense of self. I won't interfere with that. Later, as they walked back to the car, Tessa between them holding both their hands, Amara felt something she hadn't expected to feel again. Contentment. Not just safety or relief but actual happiness. This was a perfect day, Tessa announced. Can we do it again? Whenever you want, Dominic promised. That evening after they dropped Dominic off at his penthouse, Tessa was quiet in the back seat. What's wrong, baby? Amara asked. Nothing's wrong. I just wish Dominic could stay with us always. He makes you smile, mommy. You didn't smile before. Amara's throat tightened. Out of the mouths of children came truths adults tried to avoid. Dominic has his own home, his own life. But he'll keep visiting us. But don't you want him to stay? I do. It's complicated, Tessa. Why? How did you explain to a 5-year-old that you were scared? That you'd been hurt so badly you didn't trust yourself to recognize kindness versus manipulation? That you were falling for a man who seemed too good to be true? Because grown-up relationships are complicated, Amara said finally. Tessa seemed satisfied with this non-answer and went back to humming to herself. But the question lingered in Amara's mind. Did she want Dominic to stay? The answer was yes. The problem was admitting it. At work the following week, Amara was developing a new program for survivors transitioning out of shelters when her phone rang. An unknown number. She almost didn't answer. But something made her pick up. Hello. Heavy breathing on the other end. Then a voice she recognized with immediate terror. Did you really think a piece of paper would keep me away from you? Derek. Amara's blood turned to ice. Her hand shook so badly she nearly dropped the phone. You have a restraining order, she managed to say. You can't call me. You can't come near me. I can do whatever I want. You're mine, Amara. You and that brat. I know where you're working. I know where you live. I know everything. If you come near us, you'll go to jail. Will I? Are you sure about that? I have friends, Amara. Friends in useful places. They tell me things. Like where your daughter goes to school. What time she gets out. Who picks her up. Pure terror flooded through Amara. If you touch Tessa, then maybe you should come back where you belong. Leave that fancy life your rich boyfriend set up for you. Come home. Beg me to take you back. Maybe then I'll forget about the little brat. The line went dead. Amara sat frozen, the phone still pressed to her ear. Her mind raced. He knew where they lived. Where Tessa went to school. He was watching them. With shaking hands she called Dominic. He answered on the first ring. Amara? What's wrong? Derek called. He knows where we are. He's threatening Tessa. He said. Her voice broke. He said he knows her school schedule. Stay where you are. I'm coming to get you. Don't leave the building. 20 minutes later, Dominic strode into the office, his expression thunderous. Sophia took one look at him and immediately understood something serious had happened. Take the rest of the day, she told Amara. Take tomorrow too if you need it. In Dominic's car, Amara's hands wouldn't stop shaking. He's going to hurt her. He's going to take her or hurt her to punish me. No, he's not. Dominic's voice was steel. Listen to me. I'm pulling Tessa out of school right now. Garrett is already there. He'll stay with her until we arrive. Then we're upgrading your security. More personnel. Better equipment. And my legal team is going to have Derek arrested for violating the restraining order. He said he has friends in useful places. He doesn't have friends like mine. Trust me. They picked up Tessa from school. She was confused by the sudden disruption but excited to leave early. Garrett had kept her calm, making it seem like a surprise treat rather than an emergency. That night, Dominic stayed at their apartment. He made dinner while Amara tried to calm her racing heart. New security measures were implemented immediately. Cameras at every entrance. A panic button system. Additional patrols. You're safe, Dominic kept saying. Both of you are safe. But Amara couldn't shake the fear. Derek had found them. He was watching. And he'd made it clear he wasn't done with her. After Tessa was asleep, Amara sat on the sofa, arms wrapped around herself. Dominic sat beside her, careful to maintain distance but close enough that she could feel his presence. I thought I was free, she whispered. I thought it was over. It will be. Derek made a mistake by calling you. That was a direct violation of the restraining order. My lawyers are already working with the police. He will be arrested. And then what? He gets out on bail. He comes after us anyway. The system doesn't protect women like me. It never has. The system might not, but I will. Amara, look at me. She turned to face him. His dark eyes were intense, determined. I will not let him hurt you or Tessa. I promise you. Whatever it takes. You can't promise that. You can't control everything. Watch me. His voice was absolute certainty. I have resources most people don't. I have connections most people don't. And I have motivation that makes me very, very effective. Derek Walsh is about to discover what happens when someone threatens people I care about. People I care about. The words hung in the air between them. Why do you care so much? Amara asked. Really? It's been weeks. You've done more than anyone could expect. You could walk away anytime. Dominic was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer. Because somewhere along the way this stopped being about helping a stranger. It became about protecting someone important to me. Both of you. You're not a charity case, Amara. You're someone I admire. Someone I respect. He paused. Someone I care about deeply. Amara's heart pounded. Dominic. You don't have to say anything. I know the timing is terrible. You're dealing with Derek's threats and your own healing. But I wanted you to know. You matter to me. Both of you matter to me. Without thinking, Amara reached out and took his hand. His fingers closed around hers, warm and strong. You matter to us too, she said quietly. More than you know. They sat like that for a while, hands linked, both understanding that something had shifted between them. Something deeper than gratitude or responsibility. Something that felt remarkably like the beginning of love. Derek Walsh was arrested at 4 a.m. 2 days later. Dominic's lawyers had worked with the police to document the phone call, trace it, and build an airtight case for violating the restraining order and making terroristic threats. Amara got the call at 6 a.m. Relief flooded through her so powerfully her knees went weak. He's in custody? She asked Dominic, who'd called personally to tell her. Yes. I bail this time. You won't get out easily. And my legal team is already working on additional charges based on your original statement. Assault, battery, harassment. Everything. So we're safe. You're safer. But I'm not reducing security yet. Not until he's actually convicted and serving time. Amara agreed without argument. She'd learned that Dominic's caution came from genuine care, not overprotectiveness. At work that day she felt lighter. The fear that had been pressing on her chest since Derek's call had eased. Not gone completely but manageable. You look better, Sophia observed at lunch. I feel better. The threat is being handled. By your friend Dominic? Sophia smiled knowingly. Yes. By Dominic. You know the whole office knows who he is, right? The CEO who personally helps domestic violence survivors. He's become something of a legend here. Amara blinked. What do you mean? He funds our entire division out of his personal fortune, not company profits. He reviews every program personally. He's turned down dozens of more profitable ventures to focus on community outreach. The man genuinely cares. I knew he funded the programs, but I didn't know the details. Most people don't. He doesn't like publicity for his charity work. Says it's not about recognition, it's about results. Sophia studied Amara's face. You really didn't know? He doesn't talk about himself much. He asks about us, about how we're doing, but he rarely shares his own stuff. That's Dominic. Brilliant businessman, genuinely kind person, and absolutely terrible at accepting recognition for good deeds. Sophia paused. Can I give you some advice? Of course. Whatever is developing between you two, don't let fear stop you from exploring it. I've worked here for 8 years. I've never seen Dominic look at anyone the way he looks at you. He's just being kind. Honey, kind is writing a check. What he's doing for you goes way beyond kind. That man is falling in love with you if he hasn't already fallen. The words echoed in Amara's head for the rest of the day. Was it possible? Could Dominic actually have real feelings for her? That evening he came by as usual. Tessa had made him a drawing at school, a picture of the three of them at the park with Princess Sparkle, despite the fact that the kitten had stayed home that day. This is beautiful, Dominic said seriously, examining the crayon drawing. I'm going to frame this and put it in my office. Really? Tessa bounced excitedly. On your desk where everyone can see? Right on my desk. After Tessa went to bed, Dominic and Amara sat on the balcony. The night air was cool but not cold, pleasant for October. "Can I tell you something?" Amara asked. "Always. I talked to Sophia today. She told me about how you fund the community outreach division personally, about how you've built the programs over years. You never mentioned any of that." Dominic shrugged. "It's not relevant. It is to me. I thought you were just a businessman who decided to help us. I didn't realize this has been your life's work. Helping people like me. People like you are why I do what I do. My mother died because no one with resources helped her. I swore that when I had resources I'd help. It's that simple. It's not simple at all. It's extraordinary." He looked uncomfortable with the praise. "I just do what I can." "Dominic, look at me." Amara waited until his eyes met hers. "You saved our lives. Not just physically, not just by getting us away from Derek. You saved us by giving us hope. By showing Tessa that men can be kind. By showing me that I deserve safety and respect. That's not nothing. That's everything." His expression softened. "You would have found your way eventually. You're strong, Amara. You survived 3 years of hell and still protected your daughter. Still kept your kindness. That's extraordinary." "I don't feel extraordinary. I feel broken most days. Broken things can heal. And sometimes they're stronger in the places that broke." They sat quietly for a moment. Then Dominic spoke again, his voice lower. "I need to tell you something. About my past. About why this matters so much to me. You don't have to." "I want to." He took a breath. "My father was a drunk. Mean when he was sober, worse when he wasn't. He beat my mother regularly. I was 8 the first time I tried to stop him. He broke my arm for interfering. Told me if I ever tried again, he'd break my mother's arm instead." Amara's hand went to her mouth. "Dominic. I learned to be invisible. To stay out of his way. I hated myself for it, for being too small and weak to protect her. The night she died I wasn't home. I was at a friend's house for a sleepover. My father beat her so badly she could barely see. Then she got in the car to drive to the hospital. She crashed. The police said it was an accident. But I knew the truth." "That wasn't your fault," Amara said fiercely. "You were a child. I know that now. Took years of therapy to accept it. But it's why I react the way I do when I see someone in danger. Why I open my car door without hesitation when you knocked. Why I can't walk away from situations where someone needs help. Because I remember being helpless. I remember what it feels like." Amara reached across the space between them and took his hand. "Your mother would be proud of you. Of what you built. Of who you are." "I hope so." He squeezed her hand gently. "And I hope you understand why I'm so protective of you and Tessa. It's not about control. It's about making sure what happened to my mother never happens to anyone else I care about." "I understand. And I'm grateful for it." They stayed like that, hands linked under the night sky. Something had shifted again between them, deepened. Understanding built on shared trauma, connection forged through mutual vulnerability. "Dominic," Amara said quietly. "Sophia said something today. She said she thinks you might have feelings for me. Real feelings. Not just concern or responsibility." His thumb traced circles on the back of her hand. "Would that be a problem if I did?" Amara's heart raced. "I don't know. I'm scared. Derek broke something in me. I don't trust my own judgment about men anymore. What if I'm just grateful? What if I'm confusing gratitude with something else?" "That's a valid concern." Dominic's voice was gentle. "Can I tell you what I think? Please. I think you're one of the strongest people I've ever met. I think you're intelligent and kind and funny and beautiful. I think you're an amazing mother. I think when you walk into a room, I notice. When you smile, I feel it. When you're scared, I want to fix it. When you're happy, I want to be part of that happiness." He paused. "That's not gratitude on my end. That's not responsibility. That's real feelings." Amara's breath caught. "I don't know if I can do this. If I can trust this. If I can trust myself." "Then don't decide now. Take your time. You'll figure out who you are without Derek's voice in your head. I'm not going anywhere. Whatever you need, whatever timeline works for you, I'll wait. What if I can never get there? What if Derek damaged me too badly? Then we'll still be friends. I'll still be in your life, still be in Tessa's life, still help however I can. My feelings for you don't come with conditions or ultimatums. They just are." Tears slipped down Amara's cheeks. "How are you real? How can someone like you actually exist?" "I'm just a man who knows what he wants and is willing to wait for it." "And what do you want?" "A chance. Eventually. When you're ready." A chance to show you what a real relationship looks like. What respect and partnership and genuine love look like. No pressure, no rush. Just a chance. Amara looked at their linked hands, at the man who'd saved her life and was now offering her his heart with no demands attached. I'd like that, she whispered. Eventually. When I'm ready. I'd like that chance. Dominic smiled, the first truly bright smile she'd seen from him. Then that's enough for now. They stayed on the balcony talking until late, sharing more stories, learning more about each other. Dominic told her about building his first company, about the failures and successes. Amara told him about her childhood, about the dreams she'd had before Derek, about the person she wanted to become. When Dominic finally left that night, he paused at the door. Thank you, he said. For what? For letting me in. For trusting me enough to consider a future. For being brave enough to hope again. After he left, Amara stood at the window watching the city lights. Her phone buzzed with a text from him. Sleep well. You're safe. You're valued. And you're stronger than you know. She fell asleep with a smile on her face, Princess Sparkle curled up beside her, and hope blooming in her chest like a flower after winter. Have you ever had someone believe in you when you'd stopped believing in yourself? That's what real love does. It sees your worth even when you can't. If this story is touching your heart, subscribe and tell us in the comments. Who is the person who helped you believe in yourself again? 3 months passed. Derek remained in jail, his trial date set for January. The evidence against him was overwhelming. Dominic's legal team had been thorough, documenting everything, finding witnesses Amara hadn't known existed. Her old neighbors who'd heard the fights. Her former co-workers who'd seen the bruises. Even hospital records from times she'd sought treatment. He's going away for a long time, Dominic's head attorney told her. 5 years minimum, possibly 10 with all the charges. 5 years. It seemed like both forever and not long enough. But with the immediate threat contained, Amara found space to actually live rather than just survive. She'd been promoted at work, now managing several programs instead of just contributing to them. She'd enrolled in online classes to finish her degree. Tessa thrived in school, her teacher calling her bright and engaged. And her relationship with Dominic continued to deepen in small, careful ways. He still came to dinner twice a week, but now they lingered after Tessa went to bed, talking for hours about everything and nothing. They went to museums with Tessa on weekends. He taught Tessa to play chess, claiming it built strategic thinking. He fixed things around the apartment without being asked. And slowly, carefully, Amara's heart opened to the possibility that this could be real. I think I'm falling in love with him, she admitted to her therapist one session. And it terrifies me. Why does it terrify you? Dr. Warren asked gently. Because what if I'm wrong? What if I'm just transferring my need for safety onto romantic feelings? What if he realizes I'm too damaged and leaves? What if he's too good to be true? Those are all understandable fears. But let me ask you something. When you think about Dominic, what do you feel? Amara thought about it. Safe. But also excited. Happy when he texts. Disappointed when he has to cancel plans. I think about him when he's not around. I notice things I want to tell him about. When something good happens, he's the first person I want to share it with. And when Derek used to come home, what did you feel? Fear. Anxiety. Dread. I'd listen for his footsteps and try to predict his mood. I'd scan for danger signs. My body was always tense. Do you see the difference? Yes, Amara whispered. With Derek, I was surviving. With Dominic, I'm living. That's growth, Amara. That's healing. Your body and mind are learning to tell the difference between danger and safety. Between control and partnership. That's huge progress. One Friday evening, Dominic invited them to his penthouse for the first time. Amara had been curious about where he lived but had never asked. The space took her breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows showing the entire city. Modern furniture that managed to be both expensive and comfortable. Art on the walls. But what caught Amara's attention were the personal touches. Photos of people who were clearly his employees at various company events. Books, lots of books on every surface. And on his desk, exactly as he'd promised, Tessa's crayon drawing in an expensive frame. You really did put it on your desk, Amara said, touching the frame gently. I told her I would. I keep my promises. Tessa ran around exploring, exclaiming over everything. Dominic had made sure there were things for her to do, games and puzzles set out, snacks she liked in the kitchen. You planned for her, Amara observed. Of course. She's important to me. They ordered pizza and ate on the balcony, which was even bigger than Amara's. The view was spectacular, the whole city spread out below them like a carpet of lights. After dinner, Tessa fell asleep on Dominic's sofa, worn out from exploring. He carried her gently to his guest room and covered her with a soft blanket. "She trusts you completely," Amara said, watching from the doorway. "I hope so. I'd never do anything to break that trust." They returned to the living room. Soft music played from hidden speakers. The city lights twinkled below. "Dance with me," Dominic said suddenly. "What?" "Dance with me. Right here." Amara laughed nervously. "I'm not much of a dancer. Derek never." She stopped. "Sorry. I'm trying not to reference him constantly. It's okay. He was part of your life. You don't have to erase that history. But maybe we can start making new memories." He held out his hand. "Please?" Amara took his hand and let him pull her close. They swayed to the music, her head resting against his chest, his arms around her. It was simple and perfect and absolutely nothing like dancing had ever been with Derek. "This is nice," she murmured. "It is." His voice rumbled in his chest. "Amara, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Are you happy? Right now in this moment, are you happy?" She thought about it. Really thought about it. "Yes," she said, surprised by how much she meant it. "I'm happy." "Good. That's all I want. For you to be happy." They swayed in silence for a few more minutes. Then Amara pulled back slightly to look up at him. "I'm not ready yet," she said quietly. "For a relationship. For anything serious. But I want you to know that I'm getting there. That I feel things for you. Real things. And when I am ready, I hope you're still interested." Dominic's hand came up to cup her cheek gently. "I'll be interested. Today, tomorrow, 6 months from now. Whenever you're ready, I'll be here. You're very patient. You're very worth waiting for." He leaned down slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted. But she didn't want to. His lips touched hers softly, gently, asking rather than demanding. The kiss was tender and careful and made Amara's heart race in the best possible way. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. "Was that okay?" Dominic asked. "That was more than okay." They spent the rest of the evening talking, kissing occasionally, taking things slowly. When Tessa woke up, they were just sitting together on the sofa, Amara tucked under Dominic's arm. "Are you boyfriend and girlfriend now?" Tessa asked with a child's directness. Amara and Dominic looked at each other. "We're figuring that out," Amara said. "Is that okay with you?" "It's perfect," Tessa declared. "I want Dominic to be my dad." The words hung in the air. Dominic's expression was stunned, moved. "Tessa, honey, that's not..." Amara started. "Why not?" Tessa asked. "He's nice to us. He makes you smile. He fixes things. He reads to me. He's already like a dad. Can't he just be one?" Dominic knelt down to Tessa's level. "That would be the biggest honor of my life," he said seriously. "But these things take time. Your mom and I are just starting to figure out our relationship. But I promise you, no matter what happens, I'll always be in your life. Always be someone you can count on." "Okay. Okay." Tessa hugged him suddenly. "I love you, Dominic." Over her daughter's head, Amara saw Dominic's eyes well with tears. "I love you too, little one." That night, driving home, Tessa chattered about Dominic's apartment while Amara's mind spun. Things were moving fast. Or were they? It had been months. Long enough to know this was real. Long enough to trust. At home, after Tessa was in bed, Amara's phone rang. "Dominic." "Hey," she answered. "Hey yourself. I wanted to make sure you got home okay." "We did. Garrett and Nicole are checking the apartment now, per usual." "Good." Pause. Amara, about what Tessa said. "I know. It was a lot. It was perfect. But I don't want you to feel pressured. We go at your pace, whatever that is. What if my pace is faster than I expected? What if I'm more ready than I thought?" She could hear the smile in his voice. "Then we adjust. Together." "Together," Amara repeated. "I like the sound of that." "So do I." They talked for another hour before finally saying goodnight. Amara lay in bed staring at the ceiling, Princess Sparkle purring beside her. 3 months ago she'd been running through the rain, covered in blood, terrified and desperate. Now she was falling in love with a good man, building a career, raising a happy daughter, and allowing herself to hope for a real future. It felt like a miracle. It felt like everything. The next weeks were a blur of happiness. Amara and Dominic were officially together, though they took things slowly for Tessa's sake. No sleepovers, no rushing. Just building something solid and real. Dominic met Amara's best friend Rachel, who pulled him aside and said, "If you hurt her, I will personally destroy you, billionaire or not." "I won't hurt her," Dominic promised. I'd rather die. Good answer. They celebrated Thanksgiving together, Dominic cooking an elaborate meal in Amara's apartment because she said it felt more like home than his penthouse. Tessa helped with the cooking, and Princess Sparkle tried to steal turkey from the counter. It was chaotic and perfect and exactly what family was supposed to feel like. I'm grateful for you, Amara told Dominic that night after Tessa was asleep. For everything you've given us. I'm grateful for you, he replied. For letting me be part of your lives. For trusting me. For taking a chance on happiness. It's scary sometimes. Being this happy. I keep waiting for something to go wrong. Nothing's going to go wrong. We're going to keep building this together. Keep moving forward. And they did. The call came on a Tuesday morning in December. Amara was at work reviewing grant applications when her phone rang. The police. Miss Bennett? This is Detective Morrison. I need to inform you that Derek Walsh posted bail this morning. The world seemed to tilt. What? Oh. The bail was set high. Someone posted it for him. We're not sure who yet. But I wanted you to know immediately. He's out, and while he's still under strict orders to stay away from you, we both know those orders don't always work. Amara's hands shook. Thank you for telling me. She hung up and immediately called Dominic. He answered on the first ring. Derek's out. Someone posted his bail. I'm on my way. Don't leave the building. I'm calling security now. Within an hour, Dominic was there, along with additional security personnel. The calm, happy bubble they'd been living in had burst. We're increasing protection immediately, Dominic said. Garrett and Nicole will have backup. There will be someone on Tessa at all times. And I'm hiring a private investigator to find out who posted Derek's bail and why. This doesn't make sense, Amara said, pacing Sophia's office where they'd gathered. Derek doesn't have friends with that kind of money. His family cut him off years ago. Then someone else is involved. Someone with resources and interest in keeping Derek out of jail. The next 3 days were tense. Derek didn't show up, didn't call, didn't make any moves. But knowing he was out there free was almost worse than the direct threat. Dominic barely left Amara's side. He worked from her apartment, attended Tessa's school pickup, stayed late into the night. You don't have to do this, Amara said. You have a company to run. My company runs fine without me. You and Tessa need me more right now. On Friday evening, Dominic's private investigator called with information. They gathered in the living room, Tessa safely asleep, to hear what he'd found. The bail was posted by a man named Marcus Sterling, the investigator reported. He's a business rival of yours, Mr. Kane. He's been trying to acquire some of your properties for months. When you refused to sell, he started looking for leverage. And he found Derek, Dominic said grimly. Exactly. Sterling hired Derek as a way to distract you, to create chaos in your personal life. He figured if you were dealing with a threat to Ms. Bennett and her daughter, you'd be too distracted to stop his acquisition attempts. Amara felt sick. So I'm being used as a weapon against you? No, Dominic said firmly. Sterling is using Derek as a weapon against me. You're not responsible for this. But if I wasn't in your life, then Sterling would find another angle. That's what he does. This isn't about you, Amara. This is about him trying to manipulate me. What do we do? Amara asked. Dominic's expression was cold in a way she'd never seen before. This was the ruthless businessman others had warned her about, the man who'd built an empire through sheer will and intelligence. We fight back. My legal team is already building a case against Sterling for witness tampering and obstruction of justice. And I'm going to make it very clear to Derek Walsh that if he comes near either of you, he'll wish he'd stayed in jail. Over the weekend things happened quickly. Dominic's lawyers filed multiple motions. Derek was brought back in for questioning about Sterling's involvement. Sterling's business dealings were suddenly under intense scrutiny from multiple regulatory agencies. How did you do all this so fast? Amara asked. I told you. I have resources. And when someone threatens people I love, I use every single one of them. People I love. He'd said it so casually, but Amara's heart caught on the words. Did you just say you love me? She asked quietly. Dominic looked at her directly. Yes, I love you. I love Tessa. You're my family now. And I protect my family. I love you too, Amara said, the words feeling both terrifying and right. I wanted to be sure before I said it. I wanted to know it wasn't just gratitude or fear or dependence. But it's not. It's real. I love you. He pulled her close, holding her tight. We're going to get through this. Sterling and Derek both made a mistake. They assumed I'd back down to protect you. But what they don't understand is that protecting you makes me more determined, not less. That night, Derek showed up outside Tessa's school. He didn't approach, didn't violate the restraining order technically, but his presence was clear. Garrett called police immediately. When Amara heard, she wanted to scream. He's never going to stop. Even if he goes to jail, even if Sterling is dealt with, Derek will never let me go. Then we need to end this permanently, Dominic said. The next morning, Dominic's legal team arranged a meeting. Derek, his public defender, Sterling's lawyers, the police and prosecutors all gathered in a conference room. Dominic had refused to let Amara attend. I don't want you in the same room with him. Trust me to handle this. When Dominic returned 3 hours later, he looked exhausted but satisfied. It's done, he said. What's done? Derek agreed to plead guilty to all charges in exchange for a longer sentence with no possibility of parole for 7 years. Sterling agreed to pay substantial damages to you for emotional distress and to never contact any of us again. If either of them breaks the agreement, they face additional charges and Sterling loses his business licenses. How did you get them to agree to that? Sterling's business dealings included some questionable practices. My investigators found enough to cause him serious legal problems. I offered to keep that information private if he cooperated. As for Derek, his public defender convinced him that fighting the charges would result in even more time. And the prosecutor was very motivated to get a conviction. Amara sat down hard. So it's really over? Derek's going away for 7 years? Yes. He'll be sentenced next month, but the plea deal is signed. He can't back out. And Sterling? Is no longer a threat to anyone. His business reputation is destroyed, his board is forcing him out, and he's facing his own legal troubles. He won't have the time or resources to bother us again. Amara felt tears streaming down her face. Relief, pure and overwhelming. It's really over. It's really over. Dominic pulled her into his arms. You're safe. Tessa's safe. We can stop looking over our shoulders. That evening they told Tessa the news in age-appropriate terms. Derek won't be around anymore, Amara explained. He's going away for a very long time. Good, Tessa said firmly. He was mean. I'm glad he's gone. Now we can be happy with Dominic. Out of the mouths of children. That night, after Tessa was asleep, Amara and Dominic sat on the balcony under a blanket, watching snow begin to fall. I can't believe it's really over, Amara said. Believe it? You're free. Truly free. Because of you. You saved us. Again. We saved each other, Dominic corrected gently. You think I rescued you, but you rescued me too. You reminded me what I was working for. Why building wealth and power mattered. Not for ego or success, but so I could help people who needed it. You gave my life meaning again. Amara turned to look at him, this man who'd opened his car door on a rainy night and changed everything. I love you so much. I love you too. Both of you. And I'm going to keep loving you and protecting you and being part of your lives for as long as you'll have me. That sounds like forever. I'm hoping for forever. They kissed as snow fell around them, starting the next chapter of their lives. One without fear. Without threats. Without looking over their shoulders. Just hope and love and the promise of tomorrow. Christmas came with all its chaos and joy. Dominic insisted on hosting at his penthouse, transforming it into a winter wonderland for Tessa. An enormous tree dominated the living room, decorated with ornaments Tessa had helped choose. Lights everywhere. Presents piled high. This is too much, Amara protested, looking at the mountain of gifts under the tree. It's exactly enough, Dominic countered. This is Tessa's first Christmas feeling safe. Let me make it magical. And it was magical. Tessa woke up in the guest room of Dominic's penthouse, where they'd stayed Christmas Eve, and ran screaming with joy when she saw the presents. Santa knew I was here, she exclaimed. Santa knows everything, Dominic said seriously. They spent the morning opening gifts. Dolls for Tessa. Art supplies. Books. Clothes. A new tablet for educational games. Dominic had thought of everything. For Amara there was jewelry, modest but beautiful. Nice clothes for work. Books he knew she'd love. And one small box that made her heart stop. Inside was a key. It's to my penthouse, Dominic said quietly while Tessa played with her new toys. I'm not asking you to move in. Not yet. But I want you to have access. To feel like this place is yours too. Both of you. Dominic. I know it's fast, but I also know what I want. I want you here. I want to wake up with you. I want to share breakfast with Tessa. I want this to be our space, not just mine. But only when you're ready. Amara looked around the penthouse, at Tessa playing happily, at Princess Sparkle exploring the new space, at the man who'd given them everything. "What if we tried it?" she said. "Not permanently at first. Maybe a few nights a week. See how it feels." Dominic's face lit up. "Really? Really? I think we're ready. I think I'm ready." "Are you sure?" "There's no rush." "I'm sure. You're already part of our lives completely. You're already Tessa's father in every way that matters. Why not make it official?" Over the next few weeks, they merged their lives more completely. Amara and Tessa spent weekends at the penthouse. Some of their things migrated over. Tessa got her own room decorated exactly how she wanted, all pink and purple with stars on the ceiling. By February, it felt strange to go back to the apartment. One night, over dinner, Tessa asked the question they'd all been thinking. "Why do we still have two homes? Can't we just live here all the time?" Amara looked at Dominic. He looked back at her, hope clear in his expression. "Do you want to live here all the time?" Amara asked her daughter. "Yes. Don't you?" "I think I do," Amara said slowly. "What do you think, Dominic?" "I think this place has felt more like home in the last 2 months than it ever did before. I think I love waking up with you here. I think I love seeing Tessa's toys in the living room and Princess Sparkle sleeping on my favorite chair. I think I want this to be permanent." "Then let's make it permanent." They moved in officially in March. The apartment was kept as a safety net, somewhere to go if needed, but it remained mostly empty. Home was the penthouse now. Home was wherever the three of them were together. One evening in April, Dominic asked Amara to dinner. Just the two of them. Rachel agreed to watch Tessa for the night. "What's the occasion?" Amara asked, putting on the blue dress Dominic had bought her for Christmas. "Do I need an occasion to take my girlfriend to dinner?" "Your girlfriend who lives with you and sees you every day?" "Exactly." He took her to an elegant restaurant with a view of the city. They'd been here before on their first real date months ago. Full circle. Over dessert, Dominic reached across the table and took her hand. "Amara, I need to ask you something." Her heart started racing. "Okay. The last year has been the best of my life. You and Tessa have brought joy and meaning and love into my world in ways I never imagined possible. I love coming home to you. I love watching Tessa grow. I love the family we've built together. I love it too. I know we've talked about taking things slowly, about not rushing, and I've tried to be patient, but I need you to know where I'm at, what I'm hoping for." He pulled a small box from his pocket and Amara's breath caught. "I'm not proposing tonight," he said quickly. "I wanted to, but I realized I needed to ask Tessa first. It's not just about you and me. It's about all three of us becoming a real family. So what are you doing?" Amara asked, tears already forming in her eyes. "I'm showing you the ring, telling you my intentions, and asking if, when I do propose officially, when I ask both you and Tessa together, there's a chance you'll say yes." He opened the box. Inside was the most beautiful ring Amara had ever seen. Not huge or ostentatious but perfect. A sapphire surrounded by small diamonds, elegant and timeless. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "Is that a yes? If I ask, will you say yes?" Amara looked at this man who'd saved her life, who'd protected her daughter, who'd shown her what love really meant, who'd been patient and kind and strong, who'd given her back her life and then offered to share his. "Yes," she said, tears streaming down her face. "When you ask, I'll say yes. 1,000 times yes." Dominic stood and came around the table, pulling her into his arms right there in the restaurant. Other diners watched and smiled, understanding they were witnessing something special. "I love you so much," he murmured into her hair. "I love you too. More than I ever thought I could love anyone again." They returned home to find Tessa and Rachel having a tea party with Princess Sparkle, who wore a tiny hat. "How was dinner?" Rachel asked with a knowing smile. "Perfect," Amara said, unable to stop smiling. After Rachel left, Dominic asked Tessa to sit with them. She climbed onto the sofa, sensing something important was happening. "Tessa, I need to ask you something very important," Dominic began. "You know I love you and your mom very much, right?" "I know. And we love you." "Good. How would you feel if I asked your mom to marry me? If we became a real family officially?" Tessa's eyes went wide. "Really? You want to marry us?" "I want to marry your mom and officially adopt you if that's okay with you. I want to be your dad for real. Legally. Forever." "Yes." Tessa launched herself at Dominic, hugging him tight. "Yes, yes, yes. I want you to be my dad." Dominic held her close, his eyes meeting Amara's over their daughter's head. Their daughter. Because that's what Tessa was becoming. Both of theirs. Then I have something to ask both of you. Dominic set Tessa down and pulled out the ring box again. He got down on one knee, which made Tessa gasp with excitement. Amara Bennett, you walked into my life on the worst night of yours and changed everything. You taught me what real strength looks like. You reminded me why kindness matters. You showed me what love means. Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life loving you and Tessa? Will you make this family official? Yes, Amara said, laughing through her tears. Absolutely yes. He slipped the ring onto her finger. Perfect fit. Like everything else about them. And Tessa, he turned to the little girl. Will you let me be your dad? Will you let me adopt you officially and be your father for real? Yes. Tessa threw her arms around his neck. You're the best dad ever. They held each other, the three of them, Princess Sparkle meowing from her perch on the chair as if adding her approval. That night, after Tessa was asleep, Amara and Dominic stood on the balcony looking at the city lights. The ring sparkled on her finger. I never thought I'd be here, Amara said quietly. Never thought I'd survive Derek. Never thought I'd find love again. Never thought I'd be this happy. Neither did I. I thought I'd spend my life alone, building my company, helping people from a distance. I never thought I'd have this. A real family. Real love. We saved each other, Amara said, echoing his earlier words. We did. And we'll keep saving each other every day for the rest of our lives. They sealed the promise with a kiss, the city spread out below them, their future bright and full of hope. Planning a wedding while running a business empire and raising a 5-year-old was chaotic. But it was the good kind of chaos, the kind filled with joy rather than fear. They decided on a small ceremony in June. Just close friends and family. Nothing elaborate, nothing showy. Just celebrating the family they'd already become. Tessa was beside herself with excitement. Can I be the flower girl? Can Princess Sparkle come? Can I wear a big dress? Yes to all of it, Amara laughed. Dominic's mother's sister, Aunt Claire, flew in from Seattle. She was a warm woman in her 60s who'd stayed in touch with Dominic over the years. My nephew has excellent taste, she told Amara at their first meeting. You're exactly what he needed. Someone real. Someone strong. I'm the lucky one, Amara replied. You're both lucky. That's how the best relationships work. Rachel was Amara's maid of honor, of course. Dominic's best friend Julian Torres stood as best man. Sophia and the entire community outreach team were invited. Garrett and Nicole, who'd become friends rather than just security, were there. The adoption proceedings for Tessa were finalized a week before the wedding. Amara cried through the entire court hearing as the judge officially made Dominic Tessa's legal father. Do you understand what this means? The judge asked Tessa kindly. It means Dominic is my real dad now. Forever. That's exactly what it means. Outside the courthouse, Tessa insisted on being called Tessa Kane. That's my name now. Tessa Marie Kane. It's a beautiful name, Dominic said, his voice thick with emotion. At home that night, Tessa made them take pictures of her holding her new birth certificate, which now listed Dominic as her father. I want to remember today forever, she said seriously. We all will, baby, Amara promised. The week before the wedding brought one final piece of closure. Derek's sentencing was confirmed. 7 years, no parole. He'd already served 8 months, but the formal sentencing made it real. Amara attended the hearing, Dominic beside her. Derek looked smaller somehow, beaten down. When he saw them, his expression twisted with hate. You ruined my life, he spat. No, Amara said clearly, her voice strong. You ruined your own life. I just survived it. And now I'm thriving. With a man who knows how to treat me right. With a daughter who's happy and safe. With a life you can't touch. You have no power over me anymore. Derek tried to respond, but the guards were already leading him away. Outside, Amara took a deep breath of free air. It's really over now. It's really over, Dominic agreed. You never have to think about him again. I probably will sometimes. The scars don't just disappear. But they'll fade. And I have you to help them fade faster. The wedding day dawned clear and beautiful. They'd chosen a garden venue, intimate and lovely. White flowers everywhere. Soft music. Chairs set up for their small group of guests. Amara wore a simple ivory dress that flowed when she moved. Not a traditional wedding gown, but perfect for her. Her hair was down in soft waves, and she wore the sapphire necklace Dominic had given her for Valentine's Day. Tessa wore a purple dress with sparkles and carried a basket of flower petals, which she threw with enthusiastic abandon during the processional. Rachel walked Amara down the short aisle. Your mom would be so proud, she whispered. Amara's mother had passed away before Derek, but Amara knew she would have loved Dominic. Dominic stood at the altar in a perfectly tailored gray suit, his eyes locked on Amara as she walked toward him. When she reached him, he took her hands and she could see tears in his eyes. The ceremony was simple and heartfelt. They'd written their own vows. Amara, Dominic began, his voice strong despite the emotion. The night you knocked on my car window, you saved my life just as much as I saved yours. You reminded me what really matters. You taught me that walls I'd built to protect myself were actually keeping me from living. You showed me what real love looks like, and I promised to spend every day of the rest of my life showing you that same love. I promised to protect you and Tessa always. To be your partner in everything. To listen when you need to talk. To hold you when you need comfort. To celebrate your victories and support you through challenges. I love you and I will love you forever. Amara took a shaky breath. Dominic, you gave me back my life. You showed me that I deserved safety and respect and love. You were patient when I needed time. Strong when I needed protection. Kind when I needed gentleness. You loved my daughter like your own before adoption made it official. You never tried to fix me because you understood I wasn't broken, just healing. And you helped me heal. I promised to be your partner in all things. To support your dreams as you've supported mine. To love you through good times and hard times. To build a life with you that honors both our pasts and celebrates our future. I love you more than words can express. The officiant smiled. By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride. Dominic pulled Amara close and kissed her as their guests cheered. Tessa jumped up and down, clapping. They're married. Dominic is my dad and now he's married to my mom. The reception was casual and perfect. Good food, better company, lots of laughter. Tessa danced with everyone, her purple dress twirling. Princess Sparkle had not been allowed at the ceremony despite Tessa's pleading, but there was a cat-shaped cake in her honor. During his toast, Julian raised his glass. I've known Dominic for 15 years. Built businesses with him. Seen him succeed at everything he attempted. But I never saw him truly happy until Amara and Tessa came into his life. To the family you've built together, and to many years of joy ahead. Rachel's toast was more emotional. Amara is the strongest person I know. She survived things no one should have to survive. And she came out the other side still kind, still hopeful, still believing in love. Dominic, you better take care of her because you're getting someone extraordinary. I know, Dominic said simply. And I will. As the sun set, they cut the cake and took pictures and celebrated. Tessa eventually fell asleep on a chair, exhausted from excitement. Dominic carried her gently to the car without waking her. She had the best day, Amara said, watching her daughter sleep. So did I, Dominic replied. Best day of my life. They'd decided against a honeymoon for now. Tessa was too young to be away from them for long, and honestly they just wanted to be home together as a new family. That night, after Tessa was settled in bed, Amara and Dominic stood in their bedroom, still in their wedding clothes. We did it, Amara said. We're actually married. We're actually married, Dominic repeated, pulling her close. You're my wife. Tessa's my daughter. We're a real family. We've been a real family for a while now. This just makes it official. True. But I like having it official. They kissed and it felt different somehow. Not just as partners or as people dating or living together. As husband and wife. As forever. The next morning, Tessa burst into their room at dawn. It's our first day as a family. Can we make pancakes? So they made pancakes together, all three of them in the kitchen, Princess Sparkle weaving between their legs hoping for dropped food. It was chaotic and messy and absolutely perfect. This is what I always wanted, Tessa said seriously, syrup on her chin. A real family with a mom and dad who love each other. This is what we all wanted, Dominic said, ruffling her hair. And now we have it. Over the following weeks, they settled into their new normal. Amara kept working at the Community Outreach Division, now as assistant director. She'd also started speaking at conferences about domestic violence survival, using her story to help others. Dominic continued running his business empire, but he'd learned to delegate more to make time for family. He never missed Tessa's school events. He was home for dinner most nights. He'd found the balance he'd been missing his entire life. Tessa thrived. Her teacher reported she was one of the brightest, most engaged students. She had friends. She was happy. The trauma of her early years had faded, replaced by the security of love and stability. One evening in August, 3 months after the wedding, Amara found Dominic in his home office looking at papers. What are you working on? She asked. A new program. I want to expand the domestic violence outreach. Create more safe houses. Fund more counseling. Help more women like you escape before it gets as bad as it did. Amara sat on his desk. That's amazing. What inspired this? You did. Your strength. Your story. I keep thinking about how many women are still trapped. Still afraid. Still thinking there's no way out. I want to give them a way out. We could do it together, Amara said. My experience, your resources. We could really make a difference. I was hoping you'd say that. Dominic pulled out a folder. I've been working on a proposal. The Amara Bennett Kane Foundation. Dedicated to helping domestic violence survivors rebuild their lives. Tears filled Amara's eyes. You named it after me? It's your story. Your courage. Your strength. It should be your name. Our name. Amara Bennett Kane. Our family name. They spent the next months building the foundation. It launched in November with substantial funding and ambitious goals. Safe houses in 3 cities. Job training programs. Legal assistance. Counseling services. Everything Amara had needed and more. The first woman they helped was named Patricia. She came to them with 2 children running from a violent husband. The foundation provided immediate shelter, legal support, job training, and housing assistance. 6 months later, Patricia had her own apartment, a good job, and custody of her children. Her ex-husband was in jail. You saved my life, Patricia told Amara at a follow-up meeting. No, Amara said gently. You saved your own life. You made the decision to leave. We just helped make it possible. That's what Dominic said when he first helped me, she told Dominic later. That I saved myself, he just provided resources. It's true. People save themselves. We just remove barriers. By Christmas, their first year as a married family, the foundation had helped 37 women and their children escape domestic violence. 37 families now building new lives. I'm so proud of what we've built, Amara said as they decorated the tree, Tessa directing where each ornament should go. So am I. The business, the foundation, this family. Everything. I never imagined this life was possible, Amara admitted. A year and a half ago I was running through the rain, terrified. Now I'm married to the love of my life, helping other women, raising a happy daughter, and actually happy myself. You deserve all of it. So do you? You spent so long alone, working, building, never letting anyone close. Now you have us. Now I have everything that matters. Tessa called from across the room. Dad, can you lift me up to put the star on top? Dad. The word still made Dominic's eyes misty every time. Of course, princess. He lifted her easily, steadying her as she placed the star with great concentration. Perfect, Tessa declared. Now our tree is complete. Just like our family. Out of the mouths of children came the deepest truths. That night, after Tessa was asleep, Amara and Dominic stood on their balcony. Snow was falling gently, covering the city in white. Do you ever think about that night? Amara asked. The rainy night when I knocked on your window? All the time. It changed everything. What if you hadn't been there? What if you'd driven away? What if you'd said no? I couldn't have said no. When I saw your face, saw Tessa, I saw my mother. I saw myself as a child. I saw people who needed help. There was never a question of saying no. You're a good man, Dominic Kane. You're an extraordinary woman, Amara Kane. They stood together in the falling snow, holding each other, their daughter safe and asleep inside, their love solid and real and forever. From desperation and fear had come hope and healing. From a moment of crisis had come a lifetime of love. From a simple question on a rainy night had come a family, a foundation, a future. Can I hide in your car? 5 words that changed everything. 5 words that led to forever. 2 years after that rainy night, Amara stood at the podium of a large conference center, looking out at hundreds of faces. Domestic violence advocates, counselors, survivors, supporters. All gathered for the annual summit hosted by the Amara Bennett Kane Foundation. Thank you for being here, she began, her voice strong and clear. 2 years ago, I was running through the rain, covered in blood, holding my daughter's hand, absolutely certain we were going to die. I had no plan, no resources, no hope. Just pure survival instinct. And then a stranger opened his car door. She looked to the side of the stage where Dominic sat with Tessa, now 7 years old, in her lap. He smiled at her, that quiet smile of pride and love. That stranger became my husband. Became my daughter's father. Became my partner in building this foundation that's helping so many of you today. But here's what I want you to understand. He didn't save me. He provided resources, yes. Protection, yes. Support, absolutely. But I saved myself. The moment I decided to run, the moment I grabbed my daughter and fled, I saved myself. Dominic just made it possible for that salvation to succeed. The audience was silent, hanging on every word. Every person in this room who survived domestic violence, you saved yourself. Maybe someone helped you, provided resources, offered support. That's wonderful. That's necessary. But the courage to leave, the strength to survive, the determination to rebuild your life? That came from inside you. You are your own hero. Applause filled the room, thunderous and heartfelt. Amara continued, outlining the foundation's work, the programs they'd implemented, the success stories of women rebuilding their lives. After the speech, dozens of women approached her, sharing their stories, thanking her, asking for advice. Amara listened to each one, offering encouragement and information about the foundation's programs. One young woman, barely 20, reminded Amara of herself. "How did you learn to trust again?" she asked. "After everything he did, how did you let someone new in?" "Very slowly," Amara said honestly. "With a man who was patient and proved himself trustworthy through actions, not just words. I went to therapy. I learned that not all men are like my abuser. I gave myself time to heal before jumping into a new relationship. And I listened to my instincts. If something felt wrong, I paid attention to that feeling. And now you're happy?" "Now I'm happy. Genuinely, completely happy. It's possible. Healing is possible. Love is possible. A good life is possible. Don't let what happened to you define your entire future." After the conference, they drove home together, Tessa chattering about the day. She'd spent most of it in the foundation's childcare room, playing with other children while their mothers attended seminars. "There was a girl there whose mommy was sad like you used to be sad," Tessa said. "I told her it gets better. That my mom is happy now and her mom will be happy too." "That was very kind of you, baby," Amara said. "It's true though, right? It does get better?" "It does get better." At home, Dominic made dinner while Amara helped Tessa with homework. Princess Sparkle, now a full-grown cat, supervised from her favorite chair. This was their life now. Simple routines. Family dinners. Homework and work projects and weekend adventures. The foundation kept growing, helping more women each month. Dominic's business continued to thrive. Tessa excelled at school and had just started taking piano lessons. Normal. Beautifully, wonderfully normal. That evening, after Tessa was asleep, Amara found a letter on her desk. She recognized the handwriting immediately and her blood ran cold. "Derek." With shaking hands she opened it. Dominic appeared in the doorway, saw what she was holding, and immediately came to her side. "What does it say?" Amara read aloud, her voice steady despite the fear trying to creep back in. "Amara, I'm writing this from prison where I have a lot of time to think. I'm not writing to threaten you or ask you to come back. I'm writing to apologize. What I did to you was unforgivable. The way I treated you, the fear I caused, the pain I inflicted. You didn't deserve any of it. No one deserves that. I've been in therapy here, court-ordered, and I'm beginning to understand how sick I was. How wrong. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know that I'm sorry. That I hope you're happy. That you deserve all the happiness in the world. I won't contact you again. This is goodbye. Derek." Silence filled the room. Amara set down the letter, her hands no longer shaking. "How do you feel?" Dominic asked quietly. "I feel nothing. I don't hate him. I don't forgive him. I just feel nothing. He's a stranger who hurt me once. That's all. That's healthy. Is it strange that I almost pity him? He's in prison alone, probably will be for years. And I'm here with you and Tessa, living a beautiful life. He lost everything. We gained everything. You can feel however you want to feel. There's no wrong way to process this." Amara picked up the letter and walked to the kitchen, where she dropped it in the trash. That's where it belongs. In the past. Where he belongs. She turned to Dominic, this man who'd given her back her life and then filled it with love. "Thank you." "For what?" "For being patient while I healed. For loving me even when I was broken. For showing Tessa what a real father looks like. For building the foundation with me. For everything. You don't need to thank me for loving you. That's not a burden. It's a privilege." They held each other in the kitchen, the letter forgotten in the trash, their future bright ahead of them. 6 months later, Amara stood in a different room, this one small and private, looking at a positive pregnancy test. Her hands shook, but this time with joy, not fear. She found Dominic in his office. "Can we talk?" "Always." He set aside his work immediately. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. Everything's right." "Dominic, I'm pregnant." The expression on his face was pure joy. Really? You're sure? Just took the test. We'll confirm with the doctor, but yes. I'm pregnant. He crossed the room in 2 strides and pulled her into his arms, spinning her around. We're having a baby. We're having a baby, she repeated, laughing. Tessa was ecstatic when they told her. I'm going to be a big sister. Can it be a girl? I want a sister. We don't get to choose, Dominic explained. But whether it's a brother or sister, they'll be lucky to have you. The pregnancy was smooth and healthy. Amara continued working at the foundation through her 2nd trimester, finally stepping back in her 3rd to focus on preparing. They turned one of the guest rooms into a nursery, painting it a soft yellow that would work for any gender. Tessa helped decorate, insisting on butterflies on one wall. Because butterflies are beautiful and strong, she explained. Like Mom? In February, on a snowy morning much like the one 2.5 years earlier when Amara had knocked on Dominic's car window, she went into labor. Dominic was calm and steady, getting her to the hospital efficiently. Tessa stayed with Rachel, excited to meet her new sibling soon. 12 hours later, Amara held her newborn son. He had Dominic's dark hair and her eyes, and he was absolutely perfect. What should we name him? Dominic asked, his voice thick with emotion as he held his son for the first time. They'd discussed names but never decided firmly. Now, looking at her husband holding their child, Amara knew. Hope, she said. I want his name to mean something. After everything we've been through, after all the darkness, we found hope. We built hope. Let's name him something that reflects that. Hope, Dominic repeated. What about Asher? It means happy or blessed. Asher Kane. Asher Hope Kane, Amara said. Perfect. When Tessa met her baby brother, she was careful and gentle, touching his tiny hand with wonder. Hi Asher. I'm your big sister. I'm going to protect you always. Just like we protect each other, Amara said. Just like family does, Tessa agreed. They brought Asher home to the penthouse a few days later. Life became beautifully chaotic with a newborn. Late-night feedings. Diaper changes. The exhaustion and joy of new parenthood. But through it all, Amara felt safe. Supported. Dominic was a hands-on father, sharing all the responsibilities equally. He took paternity leave from work, something his board had initially resisted until he reminded them firmly that family came first. I missed this with Tessa's early years, he said, holding Asher in the middle of the night. I won't miss it with Asher. Months passed. Asher grew. Tessa started 2nd grade. The foundation continued expanding, now operating in 8 cities with plans for more. Amara had published a book about her experience and recovery, which became required reading for many domestic violence counseling programs. One evening, when Asher was 6 months old, the whole family gathered in the living room. Tessa was reading to Asher, who watched his big sister with fascination. Princess Sparkle slept on the back of the sofa. Dominic worked on his laptop while keeping one eye on the children. Amara folded tiny baby clothes. This is it, she said suddenly. Everyone looked at her. What's it? Dominic asked. This moment. This is everything I was running toward that rainy night. I didn't know it then. I just knew I had to run, had to survive, had to protect Tessa. But this is what I was running toward. This peace. This love. This family. This life. Dominic set aside his laptop and came to sit beside her. You found it? We found it. Together. I used to have nightmares about that night. About what would have happened if you hadn't been there. If you'd driven away. If no one had helped. But I was there. And I didn't drive away. And you're safe now. Forever safe. Forever safe, Amara repeated. She looked at her family. Her husband. Her daughter. Her son. Her cat. Her home. I never thought I'd get here. From that desperate moment to this happy one. You got here because you're strong. Because you chose to survive. Because you chose to heal. Because you chose to love again. Dominic kissed her gently. You got here because you're extraordinary. Tessa looked up from her book. Mom, when I'm grown up, I want to help people like you help people. I want to work at the foundation. Then you will, Amara said. And you'll be amazing at it. Because I learned from the best, Tessa said matter-of-factly. That night, after the children were asleep, Amara stood at the balcony railing, looking at the city where her new life had begun. Dominic wrapped his arms around her from behind. What are you thinking about? He asked. About how different my life is now. How 2.5 years ago I thought I was going to die. And now I have everything I ever dreamed of and more. You deserve it all. So do you? You spent so many years alone, working, never letting anyone close. Now you have this chaos. She gestured toward the apartment where 2 children slept and a cat probably knocked something off a counter. Best chaos of my life, Dominic said. I'd take this over silence any day. I love you, Amara said. I don't say it enough. But I love you so much. You saved me. We saved each other, Dominic corrected gently. And we're going to keep saving each other, every day for the rest of our lives. They stood together in the darkness, the city lights twinkling below, their children safe inside, their love solid and real and forever. Amara thought about that desperate woman running through the rain, covered in blood, terrified and hopeless. She wanted to reach back through time and tell her, keep running. Knock on that door. Trust that stranger. Because on the other side of this nightmare is everything you've ever wanted. Safety. Love. Family. Hope. Healing. A future worth living. Everything. She looked at the ring on her finger, at the man beside her, at the life they'd built together from the ashes of her past. Thank you, she whispered to the universe, to fate, to whatever force had put Dominic's car on that street that rainy night. Thank you for this second chance. This beautiful life. This forever. Dominic squeezed her hand. Forever safe. Forever loved, Amara added. Forever family, they said together. And it was.